the questions that inside sources are telling my colleagues on the ground are possibly going to be asked of the Deputy Chief Minister. First, when was the decision taken to implement this liquor excise policy? The second, do you know Vijay Nair and Sameer Mahindru? These are two of the multiple names that are currently being investigated. Remember, the FIR names 15 people. Manish Sisodia is on top of that list. 3 arrests have taken place so far on that long list. Now, the next question. How many times have you met Dinesh Arora? We'll go over quickly now to the next question. What is Vijay Nair's relation with the Aam Aadmi Party? Why 1 month tendered fee was waived off? I'm going to keep going here just to point out for you what the questions possibly are. All right. Now, after each of these questions, I do want to take you to our reporters on the ground. We have, as you can see on the left, Anshul, in the center, Rupashri, and on the right, my colleague Siddhant. Rupashri, if we could come over to you now. We've had Siddhant explain what the possible questions from the CBI could be today. If you could explain to our audiences some of these names that we've brought up, both Mahindru's name, Vijay Nair's name, if you could give our audiences more context on who they are in this story, and then tell us how is the Aam Aadmi Party and Manish Sisodia in particular likely to respond today?
Well, the first arrest that was made in this case was that of Vijay Nair. Now remember, Aam Aadmi Party had been extremely tight-lipped about Vijay Nair and his links with the Aam Aadmi Party. In fact, though it was well known that Vijay Nair played a key role in the party's strategy when it comes to campaigning for elections and also media strategy, the party really never acknowledged that role officially, and neither the party ever put Vijay Nair in the forefront. He was somebody who always worked in the background, and even when Vijay Nair's name first came up, no Aam Aadmi Party leader actually, defended him, or in none of the press conferences Vijay Nair's name was really mentioned. It was only after Vijay Nair's arrest that Aam Aadmi Party put it out officially that he is the communication strategist of the Aam Aadmi Party. So that was the first time that the Aam Aadmi Party really made it official. Now the allegation is, and remember this is just an allegation, is that perhaps Vijay Nair was one of those persons who had a role in framing the Delhi liquor excise policy in order to benefit some private players. And in doing so, actually, it is alleged that many of these private players who got licenses actually gave kickbacks to the Aam Aadmi Party in return. So that is the main allegation over here. In the framing of the policy, was the policy framed in such a way that it was tailored to benefit some private individuals, number one. Number two, it has been alleged about the commission that was allegedly paid by these businessmen to the party instead of the whole commission going to the government. Now remember, these are very difficult charges to prove, and therefore prosecution over here will have to have a very important role. It all depends on whether such wrongdoing has happened or not, number one, and number two, how diligent is the prosecution in proving these charges, especially in a court of law. Now as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, the Aam Aadmi Party, right from Arvind Kejriwal himself to all the spokespersons and even Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, have always defended Delhi's new liquor policy. And in fact, they said that they were forced to withdraw the Delhi excise policy because they failed to have the cooperation of government officers who were scared to be associated with that policy anymore, and they did not want a situation of illegal liquor or illicit liquor being sold in the national capital, and therefore as a stopgap arrangement they went back to the earlier policy. The other name that has come up is that of Sameer Mahindru. Of course, he is already arrested, and the third arrest has also been made, that of Abhishek Boinpalli, who is a Hyderabad-based businessman. So the CBI essentially is going to try and see if there are any connection between all of these, between Manish Sisodia, Vijay Nair, the Sameer Mahindru, Abhishek Boinpalli, many other private players here in the national capital, whether any money was exchanged, and if so, who benefited. That is essentially the crux of the case. Now remember, we broke earlier also, that Manish Sisodia has already tweeted in the morning that this case is a fabricated case, and essentially preparations are being made for his arrest. And this is essentially to stop him from campaigning in Gujarat. We know that Manish Sisodia was in Gujarat in the middle of September for about 1 week to 10 days. He campaigned mostly in the north of Gujarat, and he was scheduled to go to Gujarat again. And remember also that even as we speak today, Delhi Chief Minister is already in Gujarat. He has been there in Gujarat since yesterday. And but one important point to note over here is that yesterday when Arvind Kejriwal addressed that rally in Bhavnagar, he actually did not make any reference to the CBI summons, or he did not actually go out to defend Manish Sisodia, which is what they had the both of them had earlier done when Manish Sisodia was initially raided. Today, Arvind Kejriwal is supposed to address two rallies, one in the Mehsana district and the other in the Banaskantha district, and it remains to be seen what else can the Chief Minister say in order to defend his deputy. Now, I am standing in front of the Aam Aadmi Party office, and after a very long time, actually, I have seen such a surge of Aam Aadmi Party supporters and protesters over here. If I can ask my camera person just to show you around what is happening over here. You can see that a lot of people, protesters have gathered. Many of them had actually gone to Deputy Chief Minister Sisodia's residence in the morning. Then they had gone to Rajghat also, some of them. And when they were not allowed to gather over there, they have gathered here in front of the Aam Aadmi Party's office. Now we are getting to hear that, that Aam Aadmi Party is definitely going to launch a very spirited protest.
Okay.
And will try and convert this crisis into a political opportunity. But it really all depends upon what the CBI actually unearths in the case.
All right.
If the CBI
if I could
really
just,
comes up
Rupesh,
with
if I
any
could
evidence,
just request you to stay with us for a second. Our colleague Arunima, who covers the Ministry of Home Affairs and also covers such investigative matters, is also with us right now this morning to bring us a lot more in terms of context. Let's go over to Arunima right now. Arunima, Rupeshri was just touching on the fact that despite how the Aam Aadmi Party may want to currently portray this, one of the questions is how strong is the CBI's case? If you could lay out for our audiences, what proof do we know the CBI is using to build this case?
See, when they initially lodged an FIR, they had preliminary information that there was a loss caused to the exchequer in the way the excise policy of Delhi was framed. In that, week, we saw repeated attacks by the Aam Aadmi Party saying that you carried out searches, but you have not found any material evidence, and that's why no arrest has been made. But Central Bureau of Investigation officials, if you speak to them, they insist that in a case like this, you don't really need material evidence. You need to complete the paper trail. These are crimes which can be proved through scrutiny of the papers, policy documents, and subsequent to that, 2 arrests have been made by CBI, 1 by Enforcement Directorate. We are told that today when Mr. Sisodia is brought before the investigating officers at the CBI headquarters, he will be confronted with the evidence that CBI has collected in terms of paperwork, which they feel shows discrepancies in the way the excise policy was framed. He will be confronted with what the 2 accused in CBI's custody have told the agency so far. Even though Mr. Nair's matter, Arvind Kejriwal has raised and said that he was only connected with the social media department and he had nothing to do with excise policy, CBI insists that they have evidence to show that he was sitting at meetings which Mr. Sisodia was conducting, where decisions on excise policy were taken. The allegation is that there are businessmen dealing with excise, dealing with liquor in Delhi, some of whom have been raided, named in the FIR. They were all party to this alleged corruption. So everything that has been recovered from their residence during their questioning will be put forward before Mr. Sisodia with the charge that he knew that law was not being followed and yet he deliberately signed on the dotted line.
Okay, Arunima, thank you for that context. Let's go over now.